Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? It's another week, which means it's time for another tutorial. This is Michael with Strange Shapes, and we've got a good one for you today. Today we are making this trippy, kind of old school CRT effect while we're zooming in. It's pretty crazy, it's a little matrixy, a little futuristic. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. So I think we should just get into it, have some fun, make something weird. Let's go. All right, so first thing we're gonna do, hit new composition. I'm just gonna call this one text. For the resolution, I'm gonna put this one at 4K, but feel free to do whatever works for you. You can do 1440, you can do 1080, whatever you're feeling. We're gonna keep the frame rate at 30 and the duration at 15 seconds long. And then we're gonna hit OK. Let's come up here to the text tool, hit that, click in the frame, type in whatever you would like and align it. I'm using the Integral CF font. It's a good free font. Feel free to use whatever you'd like. I'll include a link to it in the description below. I'm going to use the Align tab to get that text where I want it. If you don't see the Align tab, you can come up here to Window, make sure it's checked off right there. If you want to do multiple words, you can get the text where you want it, and then just come over here, select it, hit Control D, and then you can hold down Shift and drag. I'm just going to do machine death for now and use Align to get these where I want them. Scale it up as well. Try to get it as centered as possible. Once the type is where you want it, you're going to come over here to the left side of the screen, hit that button right there, make a new composition, and we're going to call this one CRT effect. Don't know why I did that all caps. All right, everything else can stay the same. So then we're going to hit OK. We're going to drag that text layer down into that layer right there. Then we're going to come down here, right click in the panel, go to New, Adjustment Layer. We're just going to call this adjustment layer Effect. You can rename it just by selecting it and pressing the Enter button. And then under the Effect layer, have that selected, come up here to Effects and Presets. Just type in Gridler, and we're looking for CC Gridler. So then you can double click that to apply it, and it should be here. Now before we move anything around, we want to keyframe all these values as is. So I'm just going to click this first one and hold it and drag it all the way down. That'll make a keyframe on all of them. And then if you select the effect layer and hit U, you can see all the keyframes, and this will make it a little easier to work with. Once we've done that, we're going to move the timeline up to about 2 seconds long and then change some of these values. So I'm going to change the horizontal scale to 18, the vertical scale 93, tile size down to 1, and I'm just going to flip the rotation to 180. So we get this kind of, we're already seeing the CRT lines like you would in an old monitor or TV. Now, depending on your resolution, you might have to tweak these values a little bit. Since it's 4K, I think it needs to be a little tighter. But if you're at 1080 or 1440, it might look a little different with these values. So go ahead and just move them a little bit if you need to get them where you want. Once that's where you want it, we're going to move the timeline all the way up to the 13-second mark. We're going to come over here to these keyframes and do the same thing. We're just going to click, hold, drag it down to create these keyframes here. This will just make sure that the values don't change in between 2 seconds and 13 seconds. We're going to move the timeline all the way down to the end. Select all the first keyframes like this, hit Control C, and hit Control V to paste it down there. And now these values should stay and then go back. Yep, perfect. That's just what we want. And next we're going to come back up here, and instead of Gridler, we're going to put optics. We're looking for optics compensation. Go ahead and double click that. Then we want to move the timeline back to the beginning, very beginning. We're going to come up here to the effect. We're going to hit reverse lens distortion. We're going to keyframe the field of view right there. Let's move this to about 6 seconds. And then we're going to increase this to around 175, 177. We just want to see the last few these stretched lines here. So right now 178.5 is working. It'll depend on your text and your resolution. But yeah, see, we're getting that zoom effect already. So just something like that. You just want to see the last few lines. Once that's looking good, we're going to move this all the way up to about 12 seconds, I'd say. We're going to hit U twice, bring up the new keyframes. Let's copy that first one, Control C, paste it in there. Now, should go back. Yeah, pretty cool. Perfect. Lastly, for these, we're just gonna select all these keyframes, hit F9 to easy ease them, so things will be a little smoother. Next, we're gonna come back to the project tab, hit that comp button again. Gonna call this one channels. Everything else is okay. We can hit OK. We're gonna drag the CRT effect down there. Come back over here to effects and presets. Look for shift channels. Double click to apply. Now what we're gonna do is make each channel a different color. So we're gonna keep the first one red. So then where it says take green from, we're gonna put that off, and take blue from, full off. Then we're gonna come up here to this CRT effect, hit Control D. We're gonna turn off red, turn on green. Then we're gonna do the same thing, just Control D, whoops, not the effect, the layer. Control D, we're gonna turn off green, we're gonna turn on blue. We're gonna change the blending mode for all of these. If you don't see it, like I don't right here, you can just come down here, toggle switches modes, and it should come up. And we're gonna change that to screen so that things look normal, but in a sec, we'll see the effect. So then we're gonna stagger each one of these by about 2 frames, I'd say. You can go down 1 frame on the timeline just by hitting the page down key or page up to go back. So you can use that. From the beginning, I just hit 1, 2. I hit page down twice and page down another 2 times. And now, as you can see, we have the effect. Looking pretty good. All right. Now to add even more of an oomph to this, we're going to come back, CC, force, motion, blur. So we want to find force motion, yeah, I can't talk. CC, force, motion, blur. We don't need to change anything on there. We're just going to copy that one, Control C, paste it onto each of these layers. I'm going to turn that down so it loads a little faster. And now you can see, as the movements go, there's more of a blur. Now the normal motion blur option wouldn't work here because we're not actually moving the frame like that. So we have to do a different way. This might be a little taxing on your system, so feel free to turn down the samples if you need to, but I found 8 wasn't too bad on mine, so hopefully it's not too bad on yours either. Once that effect is where we want it, we're just gonna select all of these layers, hit Control Shift C to pre-comp them. I'm just gonna call this pre-comp final. And then I'm gonna come up here to the effects and presets, search for card wipe. We're gonna apply that to the layer. And let's go about 25 frames in. So I'm at 15 frames. If I hit Shift page down, it'll jump another 10. So that's about 25 frames. If you zoom in here on the timeline, you should be able to see it. Yeah, perfect, 25 frames. We're gonna change some of these parameters. So let's go to transition completion. I'm gonna hit that stopwatch, change that to 0. Do the same thing with the card scale, hit the stopwatch, change that to 0.07. Under rows and columns, we're gonna say columns follows rows. And then we're going to change the rows to 30 from 9. So we're kind of getting this very sparse pixelated effect. And then if you want to change it up even more to get more of a random effect, you can mess with these parameters. This is the random seed. It'll just make these a little different. It's not a huge deal either way. And the last thing I'm going to mess with is flip order. This isn't really a huge deal, but I liked top right to bottom left. All right, I'm going to select the layer and hit U so I can see keyframes. I'm going to move this to about 2 seconds. Change transition complete to 100 and card scale to 1. From there, I'm gonna go back, move the timeline all the way to about 13 seconds. Do the same thing, just click and drag these to set another keyframe right there so that the values don't change in between. I'm gonna move the timeline to the very end, and then holding shift, I'm gonna hit page up twice. 5 more times. We want to be 25 frames away from the end, and that'll probably just be the fastest way to do it. So again, I just moved it to the end, held down shift, hit page up twice, and then 5 more times without holding shift. So with shift, it goes up by 10 each time. Without holding shift, it goes up by 1 frame each time. So that'll get us to 25. And then I'm just gonna copy those first keyframes and paste them right there. Let's easy ease those for a nice added effect. And I just did that by selecting all of them and hitting F9. And then lastly, we're just gonna add a glow effect to this. You can kind of mess with some of these. I think they're pretty good where they are. Maybe we can turn the intensity up to 2. And now, if we move the timeline to the beginning, we can see the full effect. Pretty cool, you guys, pretty cool. Last thing you can do, it kind of takes a sec for all the text layers to stop staggering. You can see it starts red, then goes yellow. This is just the color channel shifting. So feel free to move this a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna move it about 5 frames away from the end. I'm sorry, from the beginning. 5 frames away from the end. Just so it's a little cleaner. And now it should start white already. Yeah. All right, guys, that's the gist of the effect. There's a few more little things that you can do if you want to spice it up, add a little more flair. Instead of glow, I'm just going to turn that off. If you have deep glow, which is one of my favorite plugins, would highly recommend it if you don't have it. You can kind of make, whoops, that glow effect even better. So do that. It's just such a good glow with deep glow. Really gives you some good color. Small thing you can do, it's not a big deal. The normal glow effect is not bad at all, and it's not even too different, but deep glow is just a little nicer. Also, if you hold down Alt and click that, your glow will be a little nicer. The colors, it'll give it a little more color depth. Just change it to 16 from 8. Another thing I found that was cool was if you come up here, type in pixel, and under presets, if you put in pixels, apply it to the layer, we get something more like this. Something pretty close to like the Matrix or something. You could probably even push this a little further. I didn't experiment too much, but I thought this was pretty cool. So feel free to play with it. It's a lot of fun. You can get weird with it, obviously. Like you could make this different colors, do all kinds of stuff. Anyway, guys, that's the effect. Hope you had fun with the video. I had a lot of fun making this, and I love to share it. So yeah, if anything, I hope it just inspires you to keep making cool shit. But all right, guys, that's it for the tutorial. Thanks for sticking around. Have a great week, and I will see you on the flip. Bye.